In the days following the passing of James Handy, online discussions began focusing heavily on a single question: what happened during his final morning? As often happens when a well-known character actor dies, especially one who spent decades quietly contributing to television and film rather than living in constant public spotlight, curiosity filled the gaps left by limited official information. Fans searched for meaning in the smallest details, trying to reconstruct a timeline that, in reality, has not been publicly documented in full. What is confirmed is simple. James Handy passed away at the age of 81, reportedly at home, with early statements indicating natural causes. Beyond that, no verified public account has provided a detailed breakdown of his final morning, his last conversations, or his precise activities in those hours. This absence of detail is not unusual. For many actors of his generation, particularly those who lived relatively private lives outside of premieres and press events, families often choose to keep such information confidential. Still, the human instinct to understand the final morning remains strong. It is not just curiosity, it is often a way for fans to process grief. People who have spent years watching an actor on screen feel a sense of connection, and when that person passes away, there is a natural desire to imagine their final moments in a way that feels complete or meaningful. But in reality, most final days do not follow dramatic patterns. They are often quiet, ordinary, and deeply private. James Handy's career spanned decades, and he became one of those familiar faces audiences recognize even if they do not always remember his name immediately. He appeared in a wide range of television shows and films, often portraying authority figures, detectives, military personnel, or grounded supporting characters who helped anchor a scene. His work contributed to productions without needing the spotlight, and that kind of career often comes with a similarly grounded personal life. In situations like his, the final morning is rarely something marked by unusual events. For many elderly individuals who pass from natural causes, the last hours are typically spent in familiar surroundings, often at home, sometimes resting, sometimes interacting briefly with family or caregivers, depending on health conditions. However, in James Handy's case, there has been no publicly released account from family members or representatives describing those moments in detail, and it would be inappropriate to assume specifics that have not been confirmed. What can be said with respect and accuracy is that his passing appears to have been peaceful and private. That alone is significant. In a world where many public figures experience highly publicized or dramatic circumstances at the end of their lives, a quiet passing at home is often considered a reflection of dignity and privacy preserved. The interest in his final morning also reflects a broader cultural pattern. When actors who have been part of television history pass away, fans often revisit their most memorable performances and begin connecting those roles to the person behind them. In doing so, there is a tendency to humanize the actor beyond their roles, imagining what their daily routines might have been like, especially in their final days. This imagination extends to the last morning: what they ate, who they spoke to, whether they were aware that it would be their final day. But the truth is that unless such details are shared by family or close representatives, they remain unknown, and in many cases, families intentionally choose silence on those specifics. Grief is deeply personal, and the final hours of a loved one are not always something meant for public consumption. For someone like James Handy, who maintained a relatively low-profile personal life compared to many Hollywood figures, privacy would likely have been especially important. What remains more reliably documented is his professional legacy. Over the years, he appeared in numerous well-known productions, building a reputation as a dependable and versatile character actor. Casting directors often rely on actors like him to bring authenticity to supporting roles, and Handy fulfilled that role consistently. His performances added depth to stories, even when he was not the central focus of a scene. Colleagues who worked with him have often described him in general terms typical of long-standing professionals in the industry: steady, prepared, respectful, and easy to work with. These traits may not make headlines, but they are what sustain long careers in film and television. Actors like Handy form the backbone of many productions, creating believable worlds around the main characters. In reflecting on his final morning, it is worth considering that the meaning people attach to such a moment is often shaped more by emotion than by fact. Fans want closure, a narrative, or a final scene that feels symbolic, but real life rarely provides that kind of structure. A person's final hours are usually not a scripted ending, but a continuation of ordinary life until it simply stops. There is also a tendency online to fill informational gaps with speculation. This can lead to versions of events that sound detailed, but are not grounded in verified reporting. In James Handy's case, no credible source has provided a minute-by-minute account of his final morning, and any such description circulating without confirmation should be treated cautiously. This is especially important in the age of social media, where narratives can spread quickly without reliable sourcing. From what is respectfully understood, his passing occurred in a private setting, likely surrounded by the quiet routine of home life. Whether he was resting, speaking with someone, or simply going about a normal morning is not publicly known. What matters more, from a historical and human perspective, is the life he lived leading up to that day rather than the unknowable specifics of a single morning. James Handy's legacy is found in the body of work he left behind. Viewers may remember him from different roles across different decades, each one contributing to the texture of stories that define television eras. Character actors like him often create a sense of realism that anchors scenes, even if they do not always receive widespread recognition. Over time, those performances accumulate into a career that quietly supports the entertainment industry in meaningful ways. When fans revisit his work now, they are not only watching performances but also engaging with a long professional journey that stretched across decades. That journey ended quietly, as many do, without public spectacle or detailed final accounts. Ultimately, the question of what happened on James Handy's final morning may never have a detailed public answer, and perhaps it does not need one. Some moments in life are not meant to be reconstructed or analyzed, but simply accepted as private. What remains certain is that he lived a full career, contributed significantly to the projects he was part of, and left behind a legacy preserved on screen. In remembering him, the focus naturally shifts away from speculation and back toward appreciation. His work continues to exist, unchanged, available for audiences to revisit at any time. And in that sense, his presence remains active in the stories he helped tell. The final morning, however quiet or ordinary it may have been, is only a small fragment of a much larger life, one defined not by its end, but by its long and steady contribution to film and television.